I'm really happy to greet all the participants of International Conference on Science and Technology Research. My name is Liudmyla Gryzun. The topic of my keynote presentation is simulation of IT specialist curriculum based on Petri Net apparatus. I'm happy to represent here Simon Kuznets National University of Economics from Kharkiv City, Ukraine, where I work as a full professor of Information Systems Department, specializing in some sphere of scientific research. And the focus of my scientific activity nowadays is coordinated curriculum design in university education based on knowledge penetration. Today, in my presentation, I'm going to cover the problems of university courses synchronization, the author's approach to the curriculum modeling using Petri Nets facilities, and a discussion of the benefits of the offered approach. The problems of university courses synchronization are caused by a number of factors which demand the search of new approaches to the curriculum building. These factors include quick changes and renewing of technologies, social life situation in employment market, especially in IT sphere. Nowadays is obviously international students and employees mobility, which causes international context of higher education. Also, the main factor is growth of information amount, knowledge expansion, renewing of knowledge, quick losing of its urgency, and so on. Also, there are trends in contemporary scientific branches, which are synthesis of knowledge, mutual enrichment, interdisciplinary research with interpretation of knowledge and penetration of knowledge in cognitive methods, tools, etc. All of these tendencies must be reflected in the content of training of university students. And in terms of globalization processes and permanent changes in computing, which is important for IT sphere, building of worldwide curricula is getting really urgent. Its development, on the one hand, has expanded the scope of the traditional computing disciplines. On the other hand, it raises the task of preserving the natural links between the disciplines, integrating of the newly appeared disciplines into existing curriculum, synchronization of their mastering, and other tasks. The curriculum discipline has dual functionality. On the one hand, it's implementation of certain educational content, and relevant modular structure of the subject can facilitate the process of formation of holistic and flexible system of students' knowledge and skills in different areas. On the other hand, any curriculum discipline is an embodiment of some scientific branch adapted to teaching and learning. Hence, it must reflect correctly the branch structure, preserving main links between notions, concepts, facts, theories that rarely exist both inside the scientific branch and between sciences in a whole. There are some special challenges of IT specialist training, and important pillars which must be the guidelines for curriculum building in university education of IT specialists are the following. The curriculum has to preserve the concept of computing throughout the world and in time, and to support existing, emerging, and future computing disciplines, both for today and potential students. Also, it has to mind future trends and achievements from industry research in the entire spectrum of society. And finally, it has to be flexible to get global enduring acceptance and be adaptable within multiple educational contexts. So the main problems to be solved in this area are how to form integrative content of learning, how to provide modular structure of curriculum disciplines with preserving links between knowledge, and how to provide the synchronized learning throughout the modules of different curriculum disciplines for pre-service specialist training. So it's necessary to develop alternative approaches to the curriculum design based on mathematical and digital tools which are able to overcome the exposed problems and to cultivate cross-disciplinary strategies of teaching and learning to form students' holistic, coherent, and flexible system of knowledge. To characterize the integrative approach to curriculum design which we offer, I have to say that it is based on the relevant mechanisms of knowledge integration in scientific branches and in curriculum disciplines. It provides technique of discipline structuring which triggers the integration mechanisms realization, and it results in the coordinated system of curriculum disciplines, preserving links between knowledge and making positive impact on the Petri Net system of knowledge. We offered special technique of discipline structuring, which developed based on the ideas of multi-level construction of the content learning, multi-level knowledge generalization, and models of knowledge representation of artificial intelligence theory. In particular, we used semantic networks, frame-based systems, and their hierarchy and inheritance properties. So the technique of structure covers 4 core stages: the superdiscipline level, so-called, the level of curriculum discipline, the level of learning material of the curriculum discipline, and the level of the learning activity. On the first stage, it is so-called superdiscipline stage. The superdiscipline content here is concentrated as a network of key points defined based on the analysis of the system of professional function of a pre-service specialist, the structure of the activity, essential tasks of the sphere. So they include real objects and processes and phenomena which are to be mastered by pre-service specialists. So we obtain a semantic network which covers and includes all the key points of superdiscipline content. On the second stage, the so-called structure level of knowledge generalization, it provides general structure of subject area and rules of knowledge manipulation. In order to realize it, we elaborated special technique of preliminary analysis of the subject area and revealing didactic characteristics of academic disciplines. On the same stage, after such an analysis, we can select node learning elements of subject area, which we group around the key point elements of the super level, super discipline level. On the next stage of discipline structure, and we obtain hierarchy structure with frames in its modes. And each frame corresponds to the cycles of training, to curriculum subjects, to their modules with learning elements inside. On the third stage of discipline structuring, it corresponds to the third level of knowledge generalization. We fill in all frames prototypes of general structure and their slots with exact data. Finally, we obtain coordinated and coherent system of curriculum subject, which can be represented in such a way. Here we could see that all the key point elements of the superdiscipline level, they are covered with learning with curriculum subjects, which are represented are as nested system of frames with learning elements. And via the links between frames, all the curriculum disciplines are coordinatedly linked together, and they can be represented as a coherent system of curriculum subjects which react immediately on the changes on the superdiscipline level of education content formation, because all of the changes which happens with key points of the higher level, they immediately via learning elements due to the properties of frames system, they are penetrating immediately via the whole of this system. So the technique to the disciplines structuring and coherent curriculum shaping was implemented and verified. However, in the process of real curriculum building, it became clear that it is necessary to elaborate the issue of grouping elements into the frames, because it's essential to group them, take into account also the sequence and precedence of their learning within the modules and disciplines. So it will make the mastering of learning elements not only holistic, but also synchronized. In this context, it is relevant to use the simulation advantages of Petri Nets apparatus as for the process synchronization. Generally speaking, Petri Net can be defined as the two-partite oriented graph where there are places which are represented with circles and transitions. Places usually simulate states or conditions, and transitions usually simulate events. The places can accommodate tokens that can move around the net via transitions. Tokens moving can simulate the process in progress. As I said above, in our approach, the disciplines are composed by the frames uniting the learning elements. Any frame has its inputs. Inputs are the learning elements necessary for the student to master in order to be able to learn the learning elements of the frame. And in similar way, the outputs of the frame can be interpreted regarding the other frames. Then we distinguished the types of precedence relations for inputs and outputs of the frames. For inputs, there are three types of precedence relation: one-to-one, one learning element to car learning elements of frame, and to one learning element of different frame M relation, and the whole set of K learning elements to one. For the outputs, they were distinguished two types of precedence relations: one-to-one relation and one learning element to car, K learning elements relations. Using the precedence relations between learning elements, we can build a common Petri Net model for each learning element, frames, and finally to curriculum disciplines. Petri Net, which simulates a learning element mastering by the student, is represented by 4 places from P1 to P4 and 8 transitions from T1 to T8. The places represent the states of learning elements as for their readiness to be learned by students due to their relations precedence. There is always one and only one token in the net, which means that only one of these places can be marked at time. The transitions simulate the events of start of learning elements mastering, the process of learning regarding the academic time and its availability due to its precedence relations, and accomplishing of learning. At the next step of modeling, such Petri nets were used to create a frame or course module and to build the model of course module. It was composed by a set of learning element model connected dependent on their precedence relations dependent above. This Petri Nets composition was done by merging transitions T1 of the dependent learning element and T8 of the previous learning elements model. There are three situations are shown here: how to add the learning elements to create a frame, depending on the precedence, different types of precedence relations, one-to-one, n-to-one precedence with and relation, and one of n-to-one precedence with or relations, which you can see here on the figure. The Petri Net representation of the two modules presented by common Petri Nets after applying the rules presented before using the net addition operator, considering and precedence and or precedence, you can see also on the slide. Using the operations of Petri Nets modifications, in particular their fusion and learning elements connections of different types, we could obtain a model of a curriculum discipline module and finally a curriculum discipline model using Petri Nets apparatus. It is essential to note that output transitions of each learning elements model can trigger the subsequent learning elements model only if the previous one is accomplished. It is guaranteed by the rules of Petri Net execution and modifications. So finally, the built Petri Nets represent all the evolution of the learning elements mastering by students in the frames and between them. Petri Nets facilities provide grouping learning elements into the frames, which are in fact modules of the discipline, taking into account precedence of their learning. Frame facilities, on the other hand, provide spreading the set links between the learning elements with the module and between the modules of different courses. So such a modeling of shaping the frames or modules provides synchronization of learning elements mastering and at the same time keeping links between them. So discussing the benefits of the offered approach, it's necessary to say that in such a way we can realize mechanisms of knowledge penetration in the curricular subjects, optimize sequence and coherence of learning, mind the discipline's evolution and prepare new ones with including into the flexible curriculum without unnecessary repetition and academic time saving. The obtained curriculum with our simulation is flexible to account both global acceptance and national educational context. On the other hand, such an approach to the curriculum modeling can be used in the software for automatic creation of holistic and synchronized curriculum, which actually makes prospects of our research. Such a software will allow to detect which proper learning element and where has to be mastered, to trace the learning elements which have been mastered and will be necessary for mastering other set of learning elements, to build individual study plan for students, individual educational paths, and so on. From the standpoint of university teachers, such an approach to courses modeling will allow to see and realize the place of each learning element in the system of other learning elements, and it links with other disciplines via mutual penetration, and in such a way to select proper methods and techniques of learning of exact learning element, to offer students interdisciplinary problems to solve, to provide special ways of students' activity in order to form their holistic and flexible system of knowledge and skills. So that's all for a moment. I am ready to answer your questions. Thank you for your attention.